So again, thank you very much. My name is Víctor Sánchez. I'm the CTO of Kinto, and today I'm going to try to do in record time two things. Tell you what Kinto is, because I believe it is truly important to understand what we were trying to achieve, and then all the decisions that we had to make in order to get to essentially what has become now our almost complete stack, a few pieces missing still, but we are quite proud of the decisions and the partners that we have had in here so far. All right, so who are we? Basically, we're Kinto. We are the safety first or the safety-based finance L2. We are the first L2 that is using Arbitrum. As you know, Arbitrum made an important change on their foundation on how they were making these decisions. And instead of going through governance, now the foundation can put those licenses out in a different way. This was what triggered kind of a number of decisions after we analyze the Arbitrum ecosystem. So basically, we are what base is to optimism, right? Kinto is to Arbitrum in the sense that even though we use the Orbit technology, we are settling on the L1. And there are a couple of reasons why we did that that I wanted to comment. We have seen many attempts of what we are going to try to explain here that have failed before because they were either other L1s or protocols in an L1 that were trying to create this kind of again, KYC environments, and you will see what I'm mentioning this. And they failed because we believe that they were trying to do this in the wrong level of abstraction. So I'm going to comment a little bit on that. But first, let me comment a little bit about our mission. We designed Kinto with two main purposes in mind. Number one is nothing will matter in terms of what we do, and especially who we try to onboard to the ecosystem if your TVL is being stolen, conned, or hacked out of these users. So we took an approach of security first, and we also put in a very high stand the usability of this platform. And for that, we made a couple of very kind of controversial decisions that we believe clearly are paying off. But the objective of these two things is creating a space that put developers first, and we want them to be able to create something that wasn't possible, and is being able to get the best of DeFi and the best of TradFi. How are we going to do that? So Kinto is designed, as I mentioned, for developers first, and it doesn't matter if you are a veteran or you are just starting. You want a couple of things that matter quite a bit, especially if you want TradFi to come. The first thing, and even though I'm going to mention KYC, and I am as allergic as probably each one of you to the KYC concept, but I am also a pragmatist, right? And we know that Kinto and what we are trying to do today is a stepping stone to get those next billion users into the chain. However, we care about privacy, we care about permissionless, and we care about decentralization. So how do we do something that a large number of crypto natives are comfortable with, but that TradFi can work with? So the first concept is that we're permissionless and decentralized for Kinto. So everything that you are going to see starts with your KYC and your KYB process. You are going to be able to select that provider, and anyone can start that process. However, you are not only choosing that provider, but essentially keeping your PII inside that provider. Is never stored on chain. We are still fully EVM compatible. Obviously, we are working on the Arbitrum chain, on the Arbitrum stack, sorry, and we are going to be adding as well as stylus fairly close. Finally, free KYC AML and fraud monitoring. So what the chain is doing is we have created this new system called the Kinto ID, and we have prepared the Kinto ID to be able to give the protocols that deploy on these chains a couple of very basic sets of information. Are you KYC'd or KYB? Are you compliant in one jurisdiction and another? Sorry, are you sanction safe in one jurisdiction or another? And those kind of flags are stored on your Kinto ID that is associated to your wallet that I'm going to show in a second here. However, your information is never readable unless you sign for that application to be able to access it either in the exact same moment when it's needed, or at a later stage when a regulator requires that information. So what we're doing here is the following. Essentially, when an application comes, and we're going to see that in a second, but first, I want to mention a few differences that we established inside the chain. Number one, we have fully disabled EOAs inside Kinto. The reason why we have done this is because, remember, that's part of the security and usability. EOAs are the cornerstone, right? They are essentially what introduced us to the non-custodian wallets, and we have been able to manage those for a very long time. Most of us are comfortable with them. However, my parents and many TradFi institutions are not so much on you lose your 24 words and now you don't have a wallet any longer. So we removed EOAs, or we disabled them more or less, because what we are doing is right now EOAs are only signers for what? Signers for the mandatory, in this case, second big change, a smart contract wallet based on account extraction. Everyone in Kinto is going to be creating by default these smart account wallets, and our intention is that this is going to be the safest, easiest to use wallet that you have ever owned. We are using a multi-sig system, very similar to what Gnosis does, and on top of this wallet, by the way, we have here our partners from Turkey. The very first signer that you get in that memory wallet is very easy to create, very easy to use, very safe to manage. Again, a turnkey signer that goes as part, is at the core, right, of this signature system on this wallet. We also are going to need a valid Kinto ID. As I mentioned, you're going to do this KYC or KYB process. Anyone can start it, and anyone can propose through governance to add new centralized or decentralized aspects, and providers. And we are using the existing providers that probably many of you have already owned. If you are a banking user in the US, you have used Plaid. If you are a Coinbase user in the US, you have used Plaid. If you are a Binance user in Europe, you have used Synapse. So we are selecting to start those that you have already trusted and used somewhere else to kind of reduce friction as we go, because again, you have already done these processes on other places. And you are now doing them because yes, we are all agents. Like many of you, most of my value as a human is stored in some chain at this point. And that's terrifying, because if I want to use part of my TVL on chain to do things in the real world, and I'm a degen, but I'm not an idiot, I still want to be able to invest in real world assets. In order to do that, to diversify today, I will need to unwrap something and stake it, send it into an exchange, then put it into my bank account, pray that they don't decide to block me for any reason at random, then move it to a stock exchange and maybe buy an ETF or something like that. That's crazy. I shouldn't be able to do that, but that is a lot of what we have to do. Many of the protocols that are launching on Kinto are already in other L1s that were blocked from TVL and innovation that comes from the Ethereum ecosystem, or they are in the Ethereum ecosystem, but you have to KYC or KYB, one for Mountain, another one for T-Protocol, another one for Ondo, another one from Centrifuge, and another one from Bakkt. It doesn't make any sense. So what we're trying to do here is create an ecosystem where yes, people came to Kinto because they really love Mountain, because they really love BackFi, because they really love Centrifuge or Ondo. And when they come, they can discover other protocols that will use the same KYC, AML, OFAC compliance that we are offering in here, instead of having to KYC over and over again. But only, and this is the kind of the most important part, only when those transactions are going to happen, and only for those protocols, any PII will change hands. When you arrive at Kinto, as I mentioned, you are going to first select that provider. Right now, Synapse and Plaid, on FIDO coming soon. And we are talking with a lot of interesting DID initiatives that are still providing the requirements that our protocols and RWA assets actually have. Once that you complete that, you will create this kind of a storage inside one of these providers that, again, you have already trusted before. And we're going to be minting, sorry about that, and we're going to be, through the Kinto identity node, we're going to be minting your Kinto ID, and we're going to be creating that first turnkey signer that we mentioned before. Just to give you an idea, right now, 25,000 people have already completed this. You know, talked about allergies on the KYC, and we had a lot of fun when we were tracking this, because they were being so quickly on creating that turnkey passkey signer, minting the Kinto ID, and then making the wallet that we actually couldn't track it, because they were doing fingerprint, or face. It was absolutely astonishing at the rhythm that they created. Again, the safest wallet that they have ever owned. Because try to explain to my dad how to create a non-custodian ledger-based wallet. It's not good, okay? But try to make him now create a Gnosis safe and have several of those to sign in the Gnosis safe. We are talking here that in a few minutes, every Kinto user is already way more protected than probably most of our family members are in many chains, right? This memory wallet is something that we are extremely proud of. EIP 4337 compatible, multi-sig by default, and it adds through our identity nodes that basically connect us, again, still in a very 2.0 way, to these KYC and AML compliant checks. However, we have also added other security measures that are from the on-chain world instead of the traditional finance world. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Passkey-based signatures, again, through our friends from Turkey, and of course, the KYC-based recovery system. This is something that, once more, you cannot tell an institution that if they have a voting accident with their wallet, they are not going to be able to access their funds. You need to be able to give a recovery system. So another thing that we are doing, and I have to mention Turkey again here, we are also having a recovery system. Every wallet is created with that initial signer and with a recovery signer that can be recovered through the KYC process. So essentially, if you lose your access to the wallet because you have no signatures left, you still can basically go through that system on the KYC and KYB again. You will recover your identity, and as you recover your identity, we can access that a special signer, that a specially recovery signer, and you will recover access to your assets. It's not easy, and of course there is a lot of identity processes that go in there when implementing a delay, etc. But still, it's much better than you lost your 24 words, you're out. And finally, again, the UX, right, that we are putting around this and our wonderful designing studios. I won't go through the code today, but given that we have had to change the EOAs in favor of a smart wallet, something that we are doing is a lot of evangelization on what is account extraction, how handle operations work, how the entry point actually process those handle operations, what is a bundler, and what is the role of Pimlico, which is another of the stats that we show. So obviously, again, not for today, but please take a look at our documentation. But I wanted to show you one of them, which is this one. Right now, if you are someone like Back, Centrifuge, Ondo, you not only have to integrate the KYC, KYB, or a DID system for authentication, then you need to safely access that PII in order to make the determinations that are critical. In here, you're going to be able to do something like, oh, is Kinto ID KYC? Yes or no? Has this or that trait? Like, for instance, are you a US person or a US accredited investor? Or has this address, is sanction safe in whatever jurisdiction I'm trying to transfer that token on? There are many that will never require for any PII at all. Because they have these flags that will allow them to be, again, to kind of accomplish their compliance requirements on that piece alone. However, this wallet has also the capability to essentially send some grants for your PII as you sign those transactions. So Back can tell you for the first time, it is the first time that you are buying an ETF on chain with us. I'm going to need your name, your address, and your date of birth, and I'm going to transfer those in an encrypted one-to-one connection. And again, nothing will be stored on the PII. Only Back with their compliance will do that. And again, a lot of people, thousands of people, are doing this already in L1s. However, in L1s, they still have the ability to be dusted and lose the counterparty requirements that many institutions have. So you can, we were mentioning Tornado Cash a moment ago. So that's why kind of this conceptualization of having the bouncer at the door of the L2 in this new consensus rule of the KYC and the KYB process makes a lot of sense to not only make sure that TradFi is comfortable coming in, but making sure as well that we are creating the safest possible environment and the easiest ones when you are inside. And you're going to have that network effect that I was mentioning before. So it takes a village to create an L2, and this is not complete yet. At the core of our decision was Arbitrum. I'm going to dedicate a few slides right after this one to explain you that decision, because I think it's probably one of the most fundamental ones. And honestly, a lot of the partners that we have been able to meet after the fact and integrate in, honestly, record time. We have integrated everything that you see here in less than 5 months, was because, right, we had the right contacts and always the right person and the right support from the Arbitrum ecosystem. Infrastructure matters quite a bit. We trusted Caldera from day one, from even before we chose Arbitrum. Caldera helped us to test both the Optimism stack and the CK stack. We run parallel testnets in Optimism, CK, and then in Arbitrum as we were doing the comparisons, because we took that core decision extremely important. There are still things that we can do, right? Obviously, we use things like NetDefine and Fauna to serve our website and some of our of these functions. There is in the future, I'm sure, plenty of decentralized options, right? And we were speaking today at the conference with several of them that could work. Obviously, if the bank closes even for a minute or it opens late, nothing is going to work. RPC nodes, we are trusting Anchor for the load balancing of all of our other RPCs. That includes nodes and quick node. KYC providers, again, the ones that you already know and probably have used before, Plaid, Synapse, on FIDO, and we are looking for the community, the moment that we launch governance, to vote for which ones do they want to see as part of this, of this process. Obviously, we are partnering with two key players today. We have heard their name probably in every single conference, and is Celestia for data availability. What they have done is truly remarkable. I agree. You know, I have tried to congratulate every member. And of course, we want to be one of the very first chains to use the decentralized sequencer from Espresso, both for legal, for technical, and honestly, for ethos-based reasons. We truly trust that that is the only way to do it. Obviously, we all know that there is a couple of other options. They are the best for a reason, and we are extremely proud as well, first, to be invited here, and second, to be a happy partner, and hopefully want to be, you know, very one of the very first to have it there. There is Explorers, Block Scout, kind of for the crypto digits on us. We want the hexadecimal experience, but we are partnering with Lore, a very cool startup that is using LLMs and GPT-based agents in order to talk with your chain and talk with your operations. So, you know, if I don't have to explain to my cousin, my grandpa, or my dad what the transaction did, it would be really cool. This is very important because if you go to Block Scout right now with account extraction, you will find yourself a little bit in a tricky position, because basically all of our chain is calls to handle ops to the entry point. So yeah, you know, the first view of those transactions, unless you want to dig in on the hexadecimal, it requires a lot of work. We are working right now with Lore and with Block Scout to improve that readability, to make account extraction way more readable and understandable, both in our wallet and on our Explorers. I mentioned the wallet utils with Turnkey and Dynamic. Pimlico as a bundler, if you're using account extraction, you need someone to execute your operations. We are trusting Pimlico for that, and we are speaking with another two providers that we haven't still merging here. A special mention probably to chain analysis and to Hypernative. We care about security quite a bit. And as I mentioned before, we have modified the Arbitrum stack in order to make this Kinto ID needed is a consensus rule that is at the Go Ethereum level. That means that when you are trying to move, if your Kinto ID do any transaction, right? Any calls are fine. Any transactions, though, need to have that Kinto ID valid when you are doing those transactions. If not, you are not even able to interact with a potential bad contract that you deploy or with a vulnerable contract that you have found. So what we are doing is whenever chain analysis tell us that the signer have been added to the wallet, has been involved in previous fraud, as a perpetrator, obviously, right? Have been involved in previous fraud, etc. So if that address is known for any type of, again, jurisdiction infraction or even a crime, we are able to very quickly take those reactions from the AML, OFAC on the TradFi world, but also through chain analysis and through Hypernative, we are able to essentially shoot first and ask questions later through governance. So basically what we do is whenever we get an alarm that is worrying enough in one of those two providers, we are able to freeze your Kinto ID and essentially stopping your transaction on that part. We are very aware that this process that is of course automatic and still goes through these rules of the identity nodes is delicate, and in the same way that this, we don't take lightly applying those reactions, right, or those that come from this analysis, both of a static and dynamic behavior of the users. We don't take it lightly, but we are very confident that now we are able to stop an attack before it happens through that Kinto ID. And of course, we are still an L2, and we can control the bridges as well with different systems. Wallet utils, Turnkey, we are also using Dynamic to add easy social signers and other aspects on that. Again, kind of the two pillars, right, of that memory wallet. And we're using a very fun couple of extra things. We are bridging with Socket and their super bridge. We have Kado with on-ramp, which we really like because they have piggybacking of KYC. So essentially, you don't have to go to the on-ramp and KYC it again because you are using the same system of the chain in order to pass that information to the on-ramp. And now, again, because you already did that, and 25,000 people have that already, they are able to directly on-ramp. And finally, modeling give us some very needed on-chain intelligence. We have this kind of very Japanese theme, and you can read your fortune with the on-chain API, and we can detect, oh, are you an Arbi now? So you get a special badge, and of course, credits of our launching program. If you are interested, still open. We are opening phase 4 in 10 days, which is capital commitment. So I mentioned that I wanted to finish with kind of our most important decision, which was that Arbitrum stack the decision. As I mentioned before, we tried everything because we believed that it was the only responsible way to make this decision. And we started with optimism. Obviously, they were the first to the punch, if you like. The documentation was there, absolutely permissionless. You could start with that, absolutely easier. And then we have seen kind of CK coming as well, right, with their own concept on the hyperchain. We had to try that. However, when that change on Arbitrum happened, we were quite impressed, right? Because again, the only reason that we didn't consider Arbitrum at the time was that. And we found ourselves in honestly the best technical documentation that we read so far. It took us several days to actually several weeks to first deploy and then understand the optimism and CK stacks. We deployed alone our first Arbitrum orbit to make some tests, and we were able to understand a technology that is objectively right now, right on that beautiful risk wheel, the best in tech. And still, it's funny because I took this yesterday, and this has already changed. Probably you are all missing blast, but I took this like 2 seconds ago or 2 days ago. We are already missing blast on that one, so I need to update this slide. But they are obviously the leader not only in tech, but also on TVL. They led kind of the first DeFi summer. We all were there with many protocols when they started. Obviously, a lot of that is centralized in GMX, in Uniswap, Aave, and things like that. But that doesn't make it any less impressive in terms both of TVL, access to innovation, and having, as I mentioned, the best tech. The ecosystem is the other one. This is August 2021. There is a new update. I have seen some members of the team show me the new one after Denver is going to be launched, and there is a beautiful set of concentrical circles full of orbits. Kinto is going to be on the next one, but the ecosystem is absolutely impressive, and they have excellent relationships that they are willing not to gatekeep, but to share with us as we went. And then, to be completely honest, the most important part of the decision with the Arbitrum team was all about the people, right? We were both connected to off-chain labs from the very beginning, and then to the foundation as we went through the process of getting the license on becoming that L2. And again, I would never talk badly of any other team on Optimism and CK. Of course, they were there for us. But the time of response, the way that they took the feedback, the way that they understood from day one what they wanted and assigning the right people to help us make these changes was absolutely remarkable. And it could have been, a good play to just show orbits a few months ago. The reality is that they have been with us absolutely every step of the way since that started, and it's been our pleasure to start working with them, our pleasure to know many of them during this conference. So hopefully I left like 2 minutes for questions. Am I right, or am I already out? If there are any questions, I would love to do that. If you want to join Kinto, there are 4 phases. 3 of them have already finished, but you can still kind of catch up, creating your KYC, creating your turnkey signer and your wallet, minting your Kinto ID, and finally committing capital, which starts in 15 days. If you want to develop on Kinto because you believe like us that RWAs, treasuries, and plenty of those can be better if you collateralize them with your Degen crypto site and you want to borrow against an L1 and create products that can only exist on Kinto, we definitely want to speak with you. And if you are a developer like me and you don't like to talk with DevRels like me as well, just go to the docs. We have plenty on that, and you can get started on your own. Again, thank you very much for taking the time. I know this was very different and very late on a Saturday afternoon, so thank you for staying. And yeah, thank you. Of course, one question over here, yeah. Thank you very much.
The ID, is there a way to verify without tying the transactions to the ID for privacy reasons?
So that is a very good question, right? And obviously you identified immediately one of the potential flaws of this system, and is you have your wallet, your signer owns the Kinto ID that is tied to your identity. However, that aspect of that identity, yes, if you are using one application, right, it means that they could know that aspect. This signer is the signer 0 of other points on that. So there are two ways on how you can find this. Now, number one is you could create kind of a secret Merkle tree, if you like, of identities that jump from that first Kinto ID and separate them if you want to avoid that, and create wallets as you would on other chains that are not tieable one to another. Our bet, though, is there is a reason why we wanted to be in L2, and it's because we believe in L3s as well. Private transactions are definitely a feature that we want to support, but we believe that probably the best way to do private transactions is going to be on applications that are going to need them, and they're going to do so as L3s on top of Kinto. And the beauty of the stack that we have chosen is that it is so easy to actually create those L3s on top of Kinto, and I'm looking forward for the first project that comes to us with that idea of we need private transactions, and then let's build the first L3 on Kinto, because I believe that's the best way to solve that problem. However, we could, again, have that potential Kinto ID tree if this was needed. But it's true. Right now, if you create several wallets, you will have that shared signer 0, but there are at least two ways to stop that if it's something that both either users or applications care about, and I'm sure they will. So that's how we're going to approach that kind of technical challenge, if you like. More things, yes?
Yeah, who do you see as some of the teams that are going to come and build projects, whether that be asset issuers themselves that want to come put their assets on there as RWAs, or they won't do it, some custodian will come along and take someone else's issued assets and tokenize them?
I think we're going to see both, and I think they're going to be phased. I think we're going to see some custodians that are going to come and tokenize, kind of babysitting the relationship of some of those asset issuers, but this is not 2017 or 2016 anymore. People are actually looking into this. People are actually interested on that, and we have found a lot of kind of very understandable years on that piece. So we believe that there's going to be plenty of token issuers that are going to come on their own, and they want to play here, and then they feel safe in this ecosystem. But I believe that likely, we're going to see a progression as that goes. So it's an evolving ecosystem. But once again, I would be surprised that we don't see in the first year both cases with very powerful aspects. But for me, again, none of those. I mean, I love those, and I want to help our users. It's terrible. I love those, and I want to help our users doing that. But for me, again, the best product on Kinto doesn't exist yet. It's not a token that exists somewhere else, and we are just bringing it in. It's the ability to combine the yield from DeFi, borrow against, that positions in other chains or on L1. We don't want to split liquidity at all, and collateralize that to get some exposure to the real-world assets, and offer the TradFi people exactly the opposite play. The best products are going to be those, and I'm really excited for, in 15 days, be able to start putting some in the slide, because I think it's going to be, I am excited, but I have to be. I think all of you will be as well. Nice. Thank you very much. That was the two questions. Thank you for the invite, and have a good afternoon and good weekend. Cheers.